What's up, bodybuilding fans? Welcome to Texas Bodybuilding News. To another episode of One on One with Jason. If you're not following our channel or podcast, go ahead and subscribe. Follow us. We got a lot of interesting guests coming on, featuring a lot of businesses and inspirational stories as our special guest today. We invited Jessica White. I've been following her since last year. I know her fitness journey has started way before that, but I started following her when I saw her compete at the Iron House, and I saw her amazing transformation. And that was one person I was very admirable, and I was like, wow, I want to know the story behind this. What got her into it, what motivated her, and kept her going into the not only the weight loss journey but also her bodybuilding career. So, welcome, Jessica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So let's tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do and stuff like that? Where are you from?
So I'm from San Benito, born and raised, and I'm a full-time nurse. So I work with geriatric patients. So I've been doing nursing for 13 years. And I mean, I love bodybuilding. I love working out. I like, being around other people that like the fitness journey aspect and stuff like that. So kind of off because it's nursing and then, bodybuilding and exercise. But
Well, I mean, first of all, nursing is a lot of hours, right?
oh yeah,
So that's one
full-time
thing
job.
that's very inspirational too, where you hear somebody in the medical industry also bodybuilding, because I know a lot of sometimes I have clients where they're nurses and it's like it's hard for them to keep their meals.
Oh yeah,
It's hard for them to go and train sometimes.
it's very
It's
challenging.
long hours and all that. And you're at we're at a hospital
No,
or
I work in a clinic setting, so I work at WellMed in San Benito. I've been there for 6 years. Before that, I was an assistant director at a nursing home in Hard Engine. So I just, it is difficult to stay on track with meals and training and being tired all the time, because you have to set aside, your schedule. Like you have to separate work and, bodybuilding and working out the gym. So, and then I have a 3.5-year-old too. So
yeah,
she keeps
that's
me
a handful. You
occupied.
see, ladies, it's handful. But it was the inspiration story. I want to know the story behind everything. How did it all start? How did you get into it? What was the start
Well,
of it all?
so, my weight loss journey initially started 6 years ago. So, I was 313 pounds, had a lot of comorbidities. Was pre-diabetic. I had a fatty liver, high cholesterol. I just had back problems, knee problems. Anything, I probably had it. You name it, I had it. And,
Is that something that I mean, it's years of it, or it was something that
I've
happened?
always been a heavy set girl. So I mean, even in middle school, I was a size 14. In high school, I was 210 already, and that's because I played tennis. I was active. I just, was didn't watch what I ate, so I was just, eating whatever I wanted. I thought, oh, I'm active. I can eat whatever I want. So I just stayed there, and then once I got into nursing school, that's when I started seeing the weight kind of creep up. And then with the stresses of working in a nursing home and all the hours that we worked, fast food, easy food to get to. So the weight went up. So over a span of maybe like 3 years, I went from like, the low 200s to 313 when I got married. So, I mean, it's very, very easy to gain weight. It's hard to lose it, but it's easy to gain. So, I got married, and my husband and I, of course, when you get married, you want to start a family. So I was, doing my checkups, and I knew that I eventually had to make change, and I didn't want to come to terms with that. So I avoided the doctor's office because I already knew I was already taking diabetic medication, even though I wasn't diabetic. I already knew that, I had to monitor my labs and all that stuff. So I just, I didn't want to come to that realization. But when I got married and my husband's like, you know what, let's, look into having a baby, this and that. So I was like, okay. So then I went to my gynecologist, and, she was the one actually that like really burst in my bubble. She's like, look, you're 26 years old. She's like, you're pre-diabetic, you have a fatty liver, you're on your way to liver cirrhosis if you don't take care of yourself. She's like, I mean, you don't drink, but you're on your way to cirrhosis, even though you don't drink. There's something called non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. You can get that
But
from having a fatty liver.
but that's from high fatty food
Yes,
eating.
yeah, high fatty food intake. So, she sat down with me and told me, look, you're close to being infertile. You may not even be able to have kids. She's like, with the situation and the way your body is, she's like, I mean, that's going to be very difficult. She's like, so right now, off the bat, I will sign you up for gastric bypass surgery if you want. And
This was you're 26. You said
I was 26.
26.
So I was just like having all that hit me at one time. Like I was just kind of like, I said, you know what? I said, no, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it on my own. Like, that's I'm very headstrong in that sense. Like I want to do everything I can before having to do any type of surgery or anything like that. Just because I had a few people that would tell me like, hey, if you can do it on your own, do it because I ended up with skin or whatever the case may be. So I was like, let me try it first, and if I fail, then fine, I'll do the surgery.
But I think that's
So
one thing that people don't realize, like you're saying, is it's a fast result, but the outcome, I think it's more harder in the female body
oh, it
because
is
one
because
is
you
like it's
deal with
loose
hormones
skin,
and
the
you deal with loose
hormones.
skin. Like it's just so many. I was looking at pros and cons of it, and I mean, I know some people it's very successful for them, and I mean, the kudos to them. But for me, it just wasn't the right choice for me. So I told her no at that time. I said no, I'm going to start to do it on my own, and it's like I tell people, I'm like, I feel like God puts people in your life sometimes in your path because at that time I just got married, I had just started a new job. And at that new job, the PA I mean, she's almost a best friend of mine. Like she's actually the one that helped me start my journey because I went to her and I confided in her. I told her, look, this is what my doctor told me. She says, okay, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know where to start. Like, I don't know what to do. So she's like, here, let's start to, here's a sample meal plan, and let's go to the gym. Come with me to the gym. And at the time, it was Jesse Fitcore in San Benito.
Okay.
So I started with him initially.
Is that a studio, personal training studio, or is that actually a small
It's
gym?
well now it's Next Level Fitness. It
Okay.
used to be Jesse Fitcore, now it's Next Level. So Jesse used to be the only one training. Now it's him and his wife. So I started initially with him. Like I was very intimidated. And I told her I was like, "Look, I've never been to a gym. I don't want to
But
go."
that's what I'm saying. Is it a small gym,
Yeah, it's small.
is
It's
it
not
just
like
for one on
Planet
one?
or no. It's
So
like
so they have memberships also.
yes.
Okay, okay.
So
This is San Benito.
yes.
Okay,
So I mean, right now they have group training. They have personal training and they have group training.
okay.
But I started off with the group training. He wasn't doing personal training at the time, so it was just kind of like a group class, CrossFit. Basic stuff. And I was just kind of at that time I was kind of discouraged because after my first class I couldn't even run 2 blocks. Like I was like, I told him I was like, I don't think I can do this, and he's like, nah. He goes, look, you have to start somewhere. If you don't start, it's gonna be worse. And he's like, so, and he kind of, me regañó. Like it wasn't, oh, it's okay. No. He's like, look, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. But how bad do you want it? And I was like, all right. So I kept going little by little. I kept going and kept going. And after about a year and a half with him, and I did all sorts of stuff. I did Herbalife. I mean, I did any diet that you could think of. I had tried it at that time because I just wanted to lose the weight. But the important thing for me, what was helping me was the exercise. So when I was under him, I lost 147 pounds the first time.
In a spite of time,
A year and a half.
a year and a half.
Year and a half.
And
And
throughout that time, you mentioned Herbalife and other type of diets. What were you getting that information from, or what were you?
I was just doing it on my own. I mean, at the time, people were selling Herbalife, and it was kind of like that high end thing where it had just started picking up here in the valley, or at least for me, that I had started, becoming familiar with it. So I was doing that, and then I was doing the military diet, which he had told me not to do, but I did it anyways. I ended up losing a little bit of weight with that, but come to find after doing research on it, it's not very healthy. So, I mean, I did Whole30, Paleo, like just doing different research on different things. And after I initially lost all the weight, I ended up finding out I was pregnant. So I had miscarriage 6 months prior to that. So I didn't even think I could get pregnant. So at that point, I was just kind of like, okay. So I had my miscarriage, and then I focused on myself, kind of to avoid having to deal with the emotions that come with a miscarriage. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get back in the gym. Let's just focus on me. And I ended up reaching my goal. Actually, my goal was 175. I ended up getting down to 167. So that was
And
my goal.
so you were what, training every day?
Yeah, I was doing CrossFit every day, Monday through Friday.
And you were doing extra cardio, or you were just doing
No,
the
just the
classes
training, just the
just straight?
classes.
So
Doing
a
cardio.
lot of it was because one is you were sedentary,
Hmm.
and then you jumped into
Yes.
something your body
Yeah,
responds
because
pretty
we
good.
don't. I sit at a desk, so most of the time I'm standing up or I'm doing something. I'm trying to keep busy, but I mean, most of the time I'm sitting down.
And that's the
Just
thing. That's what I tell most of my clients. I mean, it's a lifestyle change because I mean, you went from not doing,
oh yeah,
and then you started doing something. Your body will respond.
yes,
And even though your nutrition wasn't at point, you were still dropping weight because you were active and you were
yes,
pushing and you were burning calories and
yeah.
stuff. And then so you didn't combine a real good nutrition plan then,
Not
so it
really.
was just work.
It was
Okay.
just working out mostly. I mean, I had a cheat meal once a week that he would tell me, hey, once every week or once every 2 weeks, you need to, eat bad so that your body can kind of, recuperate. And I'm all right. So after I ended up getting pregnant, I had a very complicated pregnancy with my little one. She was a micropreemie. So my doctor told me right off the bat, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, she's like, you can't work out anymore.
But this was after you lost.
Yeah, this was after I lost. I was at 167, and boom, I found out I was pregnant. So I was just kind of like, I was like, I was getting somewhere. But I mean, we were ecstatic, and I was just kind of excited about that.
And did you check your blood work and check?
Yeah.
How did that change it?
So with just the exercise and the diet, A1C, we refer to it on our doctors to our patients. Whenever it's over 5.8, you're already pre-diabetic. So my A1C was less than a 4.2 at that point. Like I didn't have any high cholesterol anymore. Like all of my lab levels were normal. So I was just kind of in shock once I got my lab work checked out, and I was like, and at the time I had even been told like I had PCOS, which is I'm sure a lot of females are familiar with it. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you have cysts in your ovaries, so it prevents pregnancy sometimes. Yeah. And I had that, so that's why she was telling me it may be difficult for you to get pregnant. I said okay. So we kind of came to terms with it, and then when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Yeah. But then along with my pregnancy came, my doctor told me you're very high risk. You have a subchorionic hemorrhage, which means the baby can just detach. She's like, I need you to lay off of all the exercise.
So she was more worried about the physical activity that it could harm. Okay.
Yes. So I had to stop. I was like, you know what? I mean, my baby comes first. I'm gonna have to put myself on hold for a while. That's fine. So I ended up having a placenta previa. I had a lot of infections, a lot of issues with her when I was pregnant with her. Like my immune system just shut down. So I ended up having her 24 weeks old. And at that time, yeah, she was a pound 10 ounces. Like she was very, very small. Like at 22 weeks, I think is where they consider the baby viable. So she was just 2 weeks past that. So when it was just a checkup at the doctor's office, I ended up in the hospital. The next day she was delivered. Yeah. So it was a big slew of emotions at that time. And she ended up having heart surgery. She had a whole bunch of things everything got put on hold for a year. I ended up gaining a lot of my weight back. So I was just more concerned about her, and I was breastfeeding, and I was doing all sorts of stuff trying to maintain my milk supply.
So you went back to just being sedentary.
Yeah, so I went back to...
How about the eating? I mean, did you kind of...
No, I gave up on the eating. I was just kind of like, yeah, I would try to eat healthy, but I knew at that point, now looking back, I'm like, no, I was eating like double what I should have.
But was it like... emotional eating? Was it well you just didn't think about it?
Well, because usually when you're breastfeeding you have extra calories to burn. Mm-hmm. So but for me it was just kind of like, I'm gonna eat whatever I want and it'll burn off, but it's not the case. It's usually about 300 calories over what you're supposed to be eating. But I was just eating whatever.
300 is a lot. So you're eating more than that.
So it's just kind of like, I wasn't too concerned. I was just more concerned about her and getting her home. And she had a feeding tube that I had to change once a week at home. And we did that for 6 months. And then finally, I looked at myself in the mirror one day, and even my mom told me, she's like, you're starting to look the way you did the first time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just like a slew of emotions. And I'm just like, you know what? You're right. I need to get back into...
And that was in a span of how long then?
I gained weight in a year, so I went up to 272.
So that fast?
Yeah, in a year. I blew up. I was like, it was crazy. Like, I was just like, man, I remember last year I was at this, and then now I'm here, and it's just like, so I ended up in June of 2019 was when I went back to Jesse's. I started exercising a little bit.
But you got the okay from the doctor.
Oh yeah, after I got after my C-section, because I had an emergency C-section. So after that, they cleared me to go back to working out. She's like, start slow. The C-section's gonna bother you a little bit. And I said okay. So we started off a little bit slow, and then I started just doing the group training again, and then I noticed that for a couple of weeks I hit a plateau. Like I just wasn't moving. I went from 272 to 230, and then even with the exercise and watching what I ate and everything, I had stopped breastfeeding and everything, and I wasn't moving. And as far as my weight, nothing was changing. So I was like, you know what? I think it's time to consult a nutritionist. Like I need help. So that's when I came across Vanessa from FAR. Mm-hmm. She's the one that started helping me even during quarantine. Like I followed her nutrition plan. I started with her, and then when COVID hit, I started doing at-home workouts because the gyms were closed. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, I was like, here we go again. Here's another roadblock for me, So I was like, no, I'm gonna lose my weight, and I ended up losing it. I ended up getting down to 150 with her,
With the nutrition
yeah, with
plan,
a
and
nutrition
you
plan and
went had it.
exercises. So I ended up doing that, and then it got back to where we got out of quarantine, and then I started talking to Jesse, and I was telling him, he's like, well, so what now? He's like, you lost weight twice already. He's like, what's next for you? And I was like, I don't know. Like, he's like, we gotta have a goal, and I'm like, I don't know. And then that's when Vanessa and him, and they're like, have you ever considered doing bodybuilding? And I'm like, no. I was like, you mean those people that get on the stage? And like, no, it's very intimidating. No, I don't think so. But after a while, I was like, you know what? I started doing research on all these bodybuilders, like, people that I admire now, like, like Dorian Yates and all these other people that went to the Olympia, and just how much work they put in to get there. And I'm like, here I thought losing weight was really hard. Bodybuilding's even harder, it's a different ball game. And it's like, you know what, I'm always up for a challenge. So when Jesse told me, hey, you know what, go talk to David, and I'm like, David who? And I didn't know who that was. And when I started talking to David, like, I was just like, wow, he put everything into perspective for me as far as nutrition and working out, and what undertraining and overtraining can do to your body. And just kind of, he's like, it's not complicated, just follow what you need to follow. And I said, okay. So
Well, let's take a step back. What type of nutrition plan were you following with Vanessa? Like, how did it?
she gave me specific meal plans.
And you just
Like,
followed it
I just
to
did it
T.
to a T. And
Okay.
I mean, she would give me a cheat once a week, but she specifically gave me meals to eat all the time, every day, like what to eat. So, and that's, I told her I need that, because I need somebody to tell me what to eat. Like, if I'm not being told and you give me like macros or whatever, like, for me, I'm the type of person, I'd rather you tell me what to eat and I'll eat it. I don't care what it is. If it's every day, whatever, like, I'll do it. So I followed her plan, and she would change it every month, like, or she would reevaluate to see, like, hey, okay, you drop weight, still okay, and we'll stay on it. And only every once in a while she would have to change it. But I mean, I loved the way that she trained me as far as like my eating. Um, I learned how to have a healthier relationship with food. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm restricting myself. No, it was foods that I enjoyed, and learning how to substitute healthy. If I crave Chinese food, okay, I made a healthy version of Chinese food. If I crave something else, she taught me how to add certain vegetables and things to make, like, spices, seasonings, sugar-free dressings, and all that stuff. Like,
So,
I
so,
learned
so
about
you,
that.
you eating healthy and better, right?
No, I love it.
I
I've been
think,
doing it for 6 years.
and I think the thing about it is the misconception of that part where people are like, oh, it's hard, or I don't eat the same thing. But a lot of it is like, it's people are eating more with their eyes and minds than
Yes.
actually what the body needs. Because if you feed your body the right nutrition, you're gonna feel good, you're
Oh
gonna have
yeah.
the energy. And like you said, we can play around with it with the seasoning and spices,
Yeah,
to make
exactly.
the taste different. Now, I mean, you got your air fryers, you got your crock pots,
Oh yeah, you have
so
all
so
fancy
there's a way
stuff.
to
Yeah.
cook it, the foods and how you want to cook
Yeah.
it. So was there any food? What was your favorite like meal prep that you would prep that you
Oh,
love to?
that I to this day I still eat it. When I'm not on show prep. It's like a Chinese stir fry. So I get my white rice, my lean ground beef, broccoli, water chestnuts, edamame, and I'll just kind of like cook it inside a pan. Like, it's already cooked. Like, the rice is cooked in the meat. So to heat it up, I just mix it up, and I'll put my G Hughes. It's orange marinade. Super good. I'm just like, oh, it's so good.
I've heard of all those. I've never tried them.
You should.
You
They're
know, 'cause
very
I know
good.
they have that one
They have
barbecue, teriyaki.
barbecue, honey mustard. They have all sorts of stuff, and it's like, I want to say for 2 tablespoons, it's like 15
Yeah.
calories, and it's like like no sugar, almost like 1 gram of sugar. It's like 5 carbs.
I don't know. As long as you measure right,
I
yeah.
don't,
A lot of people like that's the thing. I think like
like, oh, there's not that many calories. I put half the bottle.
I think that's what it is. Like everybody's like they get a salad and they put all the good stuff, but then they drain it with dressing. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you just added like 200 calories, you know. But now if you measure your stuff, and I'm real specific with that. I measure everything.
Oh yeah, me too.
Tomatoes and cucumber. It's a lifestyle. It's a habit.
Yes. Yeah.
So then you spoke with Dave and you kind of got a little tweaking like to do the bodybuilding show.
Mhm.
What was the push to go for it?
To go for it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it was Trishy's story. His wife, like, he was training her, and how far she went, and seeing her pictures, and the different, lifestyle that it is when you're bodybuilding. You have your off season, you have your on season, and I was just like, I like the sound of off season, you know, like,
Yeah.
but it's just it wasn't the same, the monotonous routine that I had from weight loss. It was something different, so that intrigued me because I was like, I've been doing weight loss for a long time, so I'm like, give me something different, you know, and bodybuilding is ever changing. So you never know, you know, one prep you can be doing something, and another prep you're doing something different. You know, it's just always changing just based on your body. And to me, because I used to love art in school. And so I told David one time, I was like, man, you know what? Bodybuilding is an art. Like you look at, and I love looking at other females' physiques, like, man, she got some big legs. Like, wow, you know, like look at her arms, you know, like just being able to admire somebody's work that they put into me on stage. For me, that was my push. Like, I want to see how good I chisel down.
Yeah,
So
and we're like sculptors.
yeah,
If you think about it,
exactly.
we just take this out, shape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like
you
it's
know.
just being able to admire somebody else and then admire yourself and recognize how much work you've put in, regardless of, you know, you stepping on stage with how many other people, they all have a story to tell, you know, like, and that was my thing, you know, when David's like, I think, you know, I think you're ready. I think you can, you know, you already have the discipline. He was, you've done weight loss already, like on your, like, you know, on your own with guidance. He's like, but weight loss is difficult in its own. He's like, if you can do that and you eat the same thing all the time, he's like, you're ready for show prep. Okay.
So then the only difference is now you went into the different type of training because now you
Yes.
actually went to
Yes.
bodybuilding. How was that?
It was something different, I'll tell you, because I mean, David believes in doing not as much cardio, you know, to help preserve muscle. So I was doing a bunch of cardio at the time that I got with him. I was doing like 5 days of cardio, like an hour and a half sometimes. Like it's just, you know, because I love cardio. Like I that's just something that, you know, I love to do. And it's a stress reliever for me. So he's like, we're gonna have to cut the cardio. I'm like, okay. He's like, we're gonna do different strength training. And, you know, his strength training techniques for me, when I started talking to him, he's like, they go based off of Dorian Yates and how he works out with his clients and stuff like that. So his basic principles are come from there. And it was something that I was new to, and just doing different research on you know, the types of exercises that work towards your body, what helps you, what doesn't, you know, and learning from him, you know, has really changed my perspective on that and on working out. But don't do CrossFit anymore. I don't do any of that unless it's off season. Like, you know, he's like, yeah, you enjoy yourself. You know, you want to do that. He goes, but on show prep, it's different. You have a strict regimen. You have, you know, a certain amount of cardio you have to do, and but on off season you can
So
mess around with that.
but you train with them also.
Oh
So
yes,
that you
yeah,
go with them
yeah, I do.
with the
I
weight
do.
training and the nutrition now.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I go based off of his show prep and his training. So I only train with him 3 times a week. So I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's an hour, and then I do my cardio aside from that, like based off of what week I'm on show prep. But you know, right now I'm doing 3 days, 20 minutes
And
a day.
but you decided to do the Iron House Master, right?
Oh yeah,
That was your first
yes,
show.
that was my
So
very
let's
first
talk
show.
about that prep. How was that? Like from going from weight loss to then nutrition with Vanessa to an actual prep.
It was different. It was different. Just because, I mean, when I first got with him, it wasn't time for show yet. I was 26 weeks out. So I got with him and he's like, we're going to put you on maintenance. Okay. So he put me on maintenance just to maintain the weight that I had. And then when it came time for show, I think he got me at 16 weeks out. He's like, okay, we're going to start getting ready. Okay. So nothing really changed. It was just, you know, protein and then my carbs. He had me at like maybe half a cup and then, you know, my vegetables. And then after that, it changed as time went on, it got less and less. And then what really changed for me, I had never experienced peak week. I've heard of people talk about peak week and I'm like, what's the big deal about it? Now I knew what the big deal was with peak week. It's like, you're, you know, withholding water and then, you know, carb loading. And it's just that I think for me was the hardest. The food aspect was not, because I mean I had already gotten used to eating a certain type of food, and I was already eating lean meats
And what
before.
weight did you start at
With
David?
David, I started at 163, and he
Okay.
got me down on stage the day before I got on. No, actually, no, the morning of stage, I was at 137. So I lost that weight in just 16 weeks.
But you gained muscle too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have preserved, yeah.
So did you see how bodybuilding training build more muscle than
Oh yeah.
regular?
Yeah, because
You know,
I told him, I was like, I've been training for a year and I haven't put on no muscle before I got to him. He's like, well, how much cardio are you doing? I'm like, a lot. So he's like, the thing is with cardio, sometimes if you overtrain or you do too much, you won't put on muscle, you won't put on size. Yeah, you'll be burning fat. He goes, but you could be burning muscle too. So kind of have to watch how much cardio you do. And for me, it was a learning experience for me and how my body works because I didn't really know my body all that well until I started doing show prep. Like, oh, this really does affect me. Like for some reason, I did a mock prep this last time just to bulk and then do a gut no show. But when I did that, I noticed that avocado really does affect me a lot. Like I could do almonds, but if I do a certain amount of avocado, like I retain more fat with avocado, and it's just weird because it's a fat. Almonds are
No,
fat. It's a fat.
but that's a very good thing. And I always tell all my clients the same thing. It's like you gotta learn your body.
Yes.
You might like the food, it tastes good, but how does it affect your body? Does
Yeah.
it affect
Exactly.
your digestive system? Does it bloat you?
Yes.
You know, it's not digesting right. Some
Yeah.
protein, same thing. Some protein doesn't digest.
Yeah, that
for
happens to me with red
people.
meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you gotta find once you find that balance, you know, your body will feel different too.
Yes.
And I think that's where people are not in a specific meal plan and they're doing macros or they're eating whatever. They never know that.
Yes.
They just think that well, it's normal.
Mhm.
You know, I've had transformation clients come to me and they're not normal. Like they can go without days, and I'm like, how can you not go to rest without days?
Yeah, that you
Well,
see for me,
I've
if
been
it's
doing
a
that.
day, like no,
No, but
something's wrong.
but they're like, oh, I'm like that all the time. But it's what you eat.
Yes.
And then as soon as they clean out and
Yes,
they
do
eat
detox,
it, man, you'd
yeah.
be surprised the body responds and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that, you know?
Yes.
And what you eat, you
Yeah.
know, it makes a big
Yeah.
difference on everything. But during peak week, was it what was the hardest? Was it the water?
The
or was
water.
it the water?
I was like, give me 14 days of no carbs. I'll take that over no water.
Yeah.
As that was the hard.
And how did you do it? How was it for you?
Well, that week, starting that week, we would just decrease water intake until that Friday before was no water after 8. So it's just kind of like you're eating your food with no water, and it's like you're carb loading with no water. So it's like,
And then you realize, man, water is key.
yes,
You know?
that was just like that was actually after my show. All I wanted was water and like drinks and stuff. I didn't even care about the food. I was just more
Dehydrated. You wanted
dehydrated.
the like,
Yeah.
and you did the what was it? Physique or figure?
I did figure.
Figure.
I did
on
figure
this one.
this time.
And divisions you did were
The open and novice.
and true novice or novice?
True novice.
And you got first there.
Yes, and then the
Open.
open I got first.
First.
I didn't get overall, but I got first in those 2 categories.
And how was that feeling being on stage? Like, how was that so different from everything?
It was nerve-wracking the first time I got on because I had never been. First of all, I never even owned a bikini to begin with.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I never even owned a bikini. So to come out of my shell after being so overweight and then not ever having a bikini, I didn't even go to the beach. When I was going to the beach, I had like a one piece with like it was like a tankini with a skirt. Like I don't go out and I was always covered up. So it's just kind of like having to overcome that fear and that obstacle was harder for me than the whole show prep. It was just overcoming the way I was self-consciously about myself, and I always had issues with self-confidence, and for me it was like, no, I'm gonna do it, and that's it. So stepping on stage, it was kind of like you feel naked the first time, but then you realize there's a whole bunch of people in the back that are in bikinis too, so they're gonna be in the.
So he's like, you're not the only one.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, I feel better, but. It's just kind of like overcoming that fear the first time was a big, big thing for me. And being able to step off that stage and be like, you know what, I did it. I got on stage and I put myself out there. And, to me, I came home like, wow, I actually accomplished something that I didn't think I could, which was gaining my self-confidence back. Which was
posing too, like,
oh yeah, the posing, yeah, the posing. Don't forget it. The posing was the hardest thing for me during prep too. It's like, I'm not naturally like girly. I don't like to wear heels. I'm like, give me chanclas, but having to walk in heels and then walk on stage like that too, I'm like, I'm not going to fall. I was like, I better not fall. I was telling my husband the day before. I'm like,
so you came off stage and was it something like, okay, I did it one time, I'm done? Or was it something like, man, I like this, I want to do more?
I liked it. I liked it because I felt like not only was it a accomplishment for me. But I felt like I reached my goal this time. What goal do I have next? Like, what can I do next time? Or what can I do different or better? Um, it's kind of like once you get a taste of it, it's kind of like it gets addicting, like especially like leaning out and being fit. Like during my bulk, I was miserable. I was like, when can I start cutting again? I'm not used to being a certain weight or being in maintenance, and it's just kind of like. So when he told me, he gave me a date for show prep, I'm like, let's do it. I'm ready for a cut already. So, I mean,
So, and technically, I mean, from when we first started to that, you lost almost what, 200 pounds?
mhm,
Because you were 330 and you
313,
competed at
yeah,
130.
and 137. Yeah, almost I lost half of myself. I used to be a 2X, and then when I stepped on stage, I was a size 3. So I used to be a size 22. Size 22 to a size 3. I was like,
That's a
I,
big, I mean, that's a big accomplishment in itself, you know. And if you guys are interested in some great supplements, link is in description. Jack Factory, check them out. Good line of good quality supplements. Use my code Jason, get 15% off the products. If there's some products you're trying to, you want to know more about, direct message me, hit me up, tell you which ones are good, for your goals, stuff like that. So go check it out.